What's up, former party people? This is Jerry, the one who actually combs his hair on the A is for Alcoholic podcast. Now, if you're finding value in listening to the AIFA podcast every week and you want to support sharing it with others, we invite you to become a sustaining monthly or per show contributor. Go to patreon.com/AIFA. It's super easy and it only takes a quick moment. It's about as easy as buying one of those pre-cooked space chickens from the grocery store, taking it outside, giving it a big old kiss, and kicking it into traffic. Why would you do that? Anyway, you do you, and I'll do me. Again, go to patreon.com/AIFA. And with that, people, let's start the show.
A is for Alcoholic is a program about recovery. My name is John, and I'm an alcoholic.
And my name is Jerry, and I'm an alcoholic.
Join us as we go through the alphabet of alcoholism, one letter at a time.
I was off because I was hitting the vape real quick. I wanted to get one quick vape hit in. And then I was just like, oh shit, John knows I'm fucking around. So I'm like, 5. Like, oh man.
So we usually give you guys a little behind the scenes of A is for Alcoholic. We do a countdown so that we can sync up the audio later when I go to edit it all. And so it's so that's right when Jerry takes that big old deep vape, the one where like before you get on the airplane or you got to go into your therapist's office or whatever.
Yeah. It's the hard nicotine vape hit. It's not drugs.
No.
Well, it is drugs. It's nicotine, but
yeah.
Why do I gotta justify that shit?
You don't have to justify shit. I'm just
I'm
discussing.
me, world.
I'm just discussing the what's happening. That's all. I mean, I don't care if you deep vape, but I would just feel like maybe if they put on your like vape pen, maybe if there was like a like you could up the dosage for that. Like if you need a long, like if you're gonna like get on an airplane, you could like hit a little button, a different carb or something.
Pop it up a little bit, yeah.
And get the deep hit, and then you like I don't know how, or you could just wear a patch or. I don't know.
Or just stop being addicted to nicotine through the use of a 12-step program and a higher power.
Yes.
Yeah. Spiritual fucking solution to
spiritual solutions to vaping or to not vaping. Mm-hmm. So spiritual solutions is a good segue into
Green Camel Press.
Well, so here's the thing. I'm gonna tell you. I have a story for you, Jerry.
All right.
I have a story, and it does involve Green Camel Press, so this is perfect. Mm-hmm. We'll use this as our sponsor. I was at my house, and I gotten done, doing some things around the house. I was like, you know what, I got to go meet this guy on Monday. He doesn't know I'm coming, but I'm going to go sell these greeting cards. Green Camel Press makes greeting cards. I work for them. I mean, I am them. This is me. They are me. And so I'm going to go to this place called Marissa's Fantasia. Now, it's a gift. It's
adult boutique?
No, it is not an adult boutique. But it does. Now that you say it, it sounds like it, doesn't it?
I've been to adult boutiques called that before. So.
Fantasia.
I'm no stranger.
So one part of it is all Christmas stuff, and then the other part, it's like there's a whole section that sells Christmas stuff year round. I've only seen this scenario once before in Las Vegas, which it makes sense. But apparently it works. So they do that, and then they have their other side of the store that does all different gifts, and you can buy tricks and trinkets and cards and sculptures and whatever. There's all kinds of stuff in there. So I went there last year to sell our Christmas cards, and they said, nope, you're too late in the year. Come back next year. So I went there this afternoon, and the guy was like, yeah, I'll take some. We were talking about it. I showed him the things. He's like, yeah, give me 50 of them. Put me together a variety pack. I was like, you got it, sir. I was like, that's awesome. Like that's super cool. Because I get told a no a lot. And sometimes people just tell me to leave. Like they're like, no, we're not interested. They're very
get the fuck out of here.
I don't know if you've ever tried to cold call or hard sell or
I don't do any of that shit. No, I'd start crying.
Well, so I make the sale. I go back out to the car. I get the cards, and so I have to like kind of reorganize and reshuffle my bag so I have exactly the packs for him. I don't give him too many or too few, whatever. I write him up an invoice. And so I have to go restock my bag because I'm going to go to the next place. And I walk outside and I'm like, that's fucking Tom Waits.
Yeah. In
And I'm
Napa?
like, this is in the town of Petaluma. And I thought he lived down in Santa Barbara, and I imagine he probably does. But, you know, I've heard a few things about him living out on a farm somewhere. And I'm like, that's fucking Tom Waits. Like, I didn't need to double take. Like, I knew, but I didn't know what to do. Because I don't want to bother the guy. I don't want to,
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, I don't want to
Yeah.
be like, hey, man, the piano has been drinking. You know,
Yeah.
like, what am I going to say? So I get a voice message from my girlfriend, and I walk up about a half a block, and I listen to it, kind of just like listen to it and also give myself a few minutes to think of like, if I'm going to go up to him, what am I going to say? And this might be my only chance to ever meet Tom Waits. And, you know, what do I do? And so I was like, man, he crossed the street one way. So I double backed and like restocked my bag. And then I was like, you know what? He's on the other side of the street. I went into this bookstore and I talked to this guy behind the counter, and I was like, man, let's just leave the guy alone. You know, he's just having a day with his lady. That he was like holding a little dainty like paper bag, probably had some, I don't know, rhinestone ring or something like that in it.
Yeah.
And so I talked to the other guy at the desk, and he's like, yeah, come back tomorrow. We'll talk about cards. And as I go outside, kind of the next place I want to go to is across the street, and there he is standing outside. And I'm
Right.
like, I gotta go over there. That's where I was gonna go anyway. So I walk up and I'm like, just go say hi. Just go say hi. And he's standing out there while his lady's inside the store, as men often do. Like, maybe he was done window shopping for the day, but
Right. Yeah.
his wife still needed to get us something. I don't know.
Right.
So I just walked up, and I'm a little flustered and like warm in the face. You know, I'm a little nervous. Like, it's fucking Tom Waits. It's not like I'm
Right.
meeting.
No.
I don't know, but it just. So I just go, Mr. Waits, my name's John. I'm a really big fan. He's like, mm-hmm. And he doesn't like smile or anything. And I said, you know, also as being somebody who's sober, like, you're an inspiration for that as well. Or I said something really fumbled like that. Or I said it's really inspiring to be sober too, or something stupid like that. And he just said, and he just kind of said, thank you. And that was it. And then I said, have a
Right.
nice day. And I went away. But I got to shake the hand of the man who wrote Swordfish Trombone.
Right. Yeah.
And it was totally your style. He was fucking he was wearing skinny jeans that were still kind of sagging on him a little bit. He fucking had the leather boots on with the cuffs up. He had the
Cool
rings.
middle-aged dude style.
Well, he's
Rings,
probably like
right?
76, but yeah. He had the denim jacket on, black
I'm
shirt.
76 in my heart.
So
That's fucking badass. You should have full on just slapped him in his face. Because he'd never forget you. He'd never forget you.
yeah, you want Tom Waits to remember you?
Just-
Slap him in the face.
Yeah, I'm gonna catch an assault charge, Mr. Waits. I'm sorry.
I wouldn't be doing the podcast. I'd be doing it from the fucking
yeah.
holding cell.
You're like, thanks for getting sober. Grateful to be here. Grateful to be sober.
Grateful to be here. So
That's great, though, man. Especially considering that you have come through both ends being inspired by that guy and appreciating his art, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You've been on both ends of it, you know, both ends of that fence.
I think 2006, I remember being the very, very dark time for me. And I
remember.
And so I worked in this bar that was really beautiful but very cavernous. Like, it was very tall and big and bricked. And so I would light all of these candles. I would like a fucking seance, and I would turn the lights down real low. And I would just play Tom Waits all night long.
Right.
It was fucking depressing.
I remember, I think I went in there once or twice. When I'd
twice.
come visit. Yeah, I wasn't living in Seattle yet, but walking in there and just...
Charlie, I'm pregnant.
hollering. Yeah, hooting and hollering, you know, and just you sad, Charlie, I'm pregnant. Yeah, exactly.
And so, but yeah, man. And then to like find out that he quit drinking, and like, I mean, he's been sober since, I mean, I assume that he's still sober. I couldn't find anything on
Maybe
the
he
internet.
was just like drunk when you were talking to him, and he was like, fuck, the jig is up.
But I guess like 2006 or something like that. So he said,
Or
good.
say, well, I guess the jig is up. You know that.
And you know what was funny too was like he, like I saw he was in a movie just recently with Robert Redford. So I've seen him over the years. So it wasn't
Right.
like I was meeting somebody who I'd only seen young pictures of and then was like, oh God, he looks so old. I thought,
Right.
I was like, he looks like Tom Waits should look, man. You know, I wasn't
Right.
I wasn't still holding on to, I wasn't still thinking of some VHS copy of him on the Dick
Right.
Cavett show or something.
It was like the first time I saw Morrissey in 2001, and I was like, whoa, this is Morrissey's dad. Because I was used to like 1993 Morrissey shit while I was watching those Smiths videotapes, and that was like 1985, 84 Morrissey. Yeah, and then he gets on there looking like his dad. Looks like Morrissey's landlord, like.
If Morrissey was a landlord.
Yeah, exactly.
Stop me,
But how funny did
how funny?
to think about being on both sides of that, though, as far as like being not influencer, being into a musician. I've noticed that there were certain songs I'd listened to during my active alcoholism that I listen to now that have completely different meanings. Do you know what I mean? Like there'd be a song I'd listened to back then that had like an anthem almost, and now when I listen to it with like sadness and like very forlorn. But not that I'm like, oh, I wish I were drinking. Just like, what a sad fucking song. Like the whole message behind this is heartbreaking.
Yeah, I think, and I haven't listened to a lot of Tom Waits recently, but I feel like now I'm kind of like I want to go back and go through some of the later stuff that I haven't checked out.
Yeah,
Some of the
maybe
stuff that might be more inspired by his sobriety. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like instead of his debauchery or his, I mean, I don't know what characters, because a lot of his stuff is all character driven, right? I mean, there's,
Right.
And getting off the subject a little bit, and I'm just thinking of like writing about characters. Him and they're not in the same vein, really, kind of. But Randy Newman does that kind of stuff too.
Okay, I thought you were gonna say somebody else. There's another one too.
Who?
Ben Folds, dude.
Ben Folds. So
and Billy Joel.
So there's
They all write characters. Yeah.
They write characters, right? So they're complete like these made up, totally imaginary for like their own point of view that
Right.
don't relate to them themselves necessarily. But so I'm gonna have to go check out some
Fucking
later.
Randy Newman. Yeah, I think you should.
I was listening to this podcast about one of his songs, and it was true. I think Harry
Right.
Nilsson did that a little bit too. But
Yeah.
anyhow, this is not that. But one of the things too about this morning was me kind of loafing around the house. I mean, I did my workout and I did my practices in the morning and stuff, and I got up early, but I was kind of loafing and I was kind of putting off this whole like want to go sell cards for Green Camel Press, and this is a very long promo for them. But
We're at the 12-minute mark here.
So, but if I had gone earlier or if I had gone later, I don't want to say that like God put me in the right place at the right time to shake hands with Tom Waits necessarily, but
Yeah.
what else did? Was it just an accident? Do you believe in coincidences anymore, Jerry?
Well, that's so funny, right? So I guess we should just get to the meat and potatoes of this
Yes.
recovery podcast.
so
There's people out there making dinner right now being like, get to the fucking recovery. We don't care about your nerd music. You guys
It's
get
true.
your pants pulled down in high school. Come on now.
G, what is G for? G is for G.O.D. And yes, that is God. That's what G period, O period, D period. And part of, we talk, Jerry and I talk a lot about God, with each other outside of this and on our own. But it can stand for a lot of things, and I think that's what Jerry was getting to the point of, is that you make of it what you want, right?
Right. So when you talk about coincidence, that's usually what I align my sense of a higher power with. I don't like the word God. I've never liked it. That G.O.D. is like getting out them dicks, dog. Oh, that's G.O.D.D.D.
Getting out
G.O.D.D.
them dicks, dog.
That's 3Ds.
That's
But-
God.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like that word it seems to be the placeholder for some type of spirituality, especially within the 12-step program. I mean, the 12-step program is the originator of that. You know, they're like, you have a spiritual problem, and the only thing that can remove it is this your version of a sky dad.
Your version of a spiritual solution.
Solution, right? But it kind of fucks me up a little bit.
So, what is it about the word God? What is it about that bothers you?
I like higher power better. Just
Okay.
God is too stuffy. It's too stigmatized. To me, it's got a stigma to it. It just is too confining. You know, how many people will get turned off coming into working a program that may really fit for them because they're fucked up by the word God and how stigmatized. But I'm not saying they should change it.
No.
They just, you know, you got to get over that big fucking fear and that stigma. I think.
I hear two things in what you're saying. You don't like
Word.
it because you value openness and inclusivity in all people
Word.
looking for recovery, but also
Yeah.
I don't feel like you answered the question for yourself. I feel like
for me.
for you
What the problem
personally, I'm
is
curious.
for me.
Do you have any religious background that
Yeah,
troubles you?
we were raised all Catholic, man. Come on, we
Okay.
were all fun. Nobody fucking molested me or anything.
No, but
Well, not the priests, but you know, that was a fucked up joke. But anyway, I don't know. I don't know what it is with me and the word God. Maybe it's my anti-authoritarian thing I've had my whole life. This whole wanting to push against status quo, wanting to push against anybody telling me what to do can go fuck themselves. Like I hate it. I hate being told what to do.
Fair
But
enough.
I'll do it though. I'm a great follower. I'm just a begrudging follower. Like if you're like, "Hey, go move that couch over there." I'll help you because I love you and I'll help you. But in my mind, I'm like, I don't want to spend all the time moving this fucking couch. You know what I mean? Like there's no good intention behind it. It's just like, fine, I'll do it because I'm obligated.
And this reminds me of when Jerry and I lived together at talking about being begrudgingly, and we would, you know, it would be like it would be his turn to do the dishes, and that was just, I mean, we all took turns, we all did dishes. I'm like, yo, dude, are you gonna do the dishes? And Jerry would say, yeah, I'll do them right now in a little while.
Right
And
now.
And so
It's right now
then-
in a little while. Yeah.
So it was, and then it was like, dude, are you gonna do it right now in a little while, or are you gonna do it right now? And then it became this sort of thing because like I was just like, man, I just don't want to have to do your fucking dishes again.
Right.
You
And I was
know?
just like, do my dishes, bro.
Pretty much.
I was like too drunk to do dishes probably. But I don't, you know, my problem with it is it's not that it's hard for it's not hard for me to verbalize. I honestly think it's this anti-authoritarian being raised really Catholic. We weren't even raised super Catholic though. We went to the Catholic Church a lot, but my parents were not religious really. They found religion once they went into AA and they converted to Episcopalianism. But I just saw so many mean things happening to people around me in the name of religion. Growing up in a small Mexican American town, you know, like people were treated really badly in the name of like God and Jesus and shit. So I don't know, man. I have weird conflicting things with it because I love the idea of a higher power, right? I love the idea of something greater than me. And I love the idea of surrender and saying, well, this problem can't be solved. I can't solve this problem. I'm just going to let it go and put it, like, as they say, quote unquote, in God's hands or put it in the universe's hands. I like that idea because sometimes it's overwhelming and you can't carry all the weight. You can't. You got to find somewhere else to put that weight, you know, or put it down and come back to it later.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm cool with all that shit. It's just the God word itself. I think a lot of people are turned off by the God word. Think about our shared friend who called us up and wanted to go in the program, and I was like, yo, dude, be careful. You know, just keep in mind they use the God word a lot. I don't want that to scare you away. Do you know what I mean? And he's like, yo, bro, I went to Catholic school my whole fucking life. I told this story to me the other day and no one laughed. It was all crickets. It was like if I had just farted in a bag and threw it in the middle of the room. I was like, I'm not playing it up for the laugh ever again. But
Well, I think that's funny. I don't know why they didn't, but I mean, it's
it is. I thought it was funny too. When you told me, I laughed my ass off because it's like, oh, duh, fucking light bulb, right? But I don't know, man. That word.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I've always taken that same perspective on it as well. That God is is this thing that's, well, one, was never there for me if it ever existed, or if he ever existed, and it was never. I always feel like, for me, it seemed like something that was indoctrinated, and I was not going to be indoctrinated because I knew better. And, who the fuck was I to say I knew better? But it was me just, again, not wanting to deal with authority, not liking authority, knowing how to manipulate authority, knowing how to, I knew how to gain some authority in certain situations, but I didn't want to deal with it myself. And God, I use the word Lord when I write in my books, or, when I write in my journals, I'll say Lord. And maybe it's just because Lord sounds, I don't know, it sounds sort of ancient or formal or medieval.
Shit,
yeah, I do. Like I feel like I'm some monk scribe in the 1600s or something. I don't know. So because I was messing around with a few of them, like when I would write in my journal, and I was like, higher power, and I was like, I don't like the way that flows. Like, so Lord just became, because mine does not have my God doesn't necessarily have a physical manifestation or a definable character traits just yet.
Right. I always say the bear, right? And the bear's kind of more of a placeholder for me to think of something that is greater than me, right? Mm-hmm. But then I start thinking about the way the literature had been written in this 12-step program, and this is spiritual problem, which requires a spiritual solution. But then if you're thinking about them using God in this omnipresent Christian sense, why would you need God to take away the problem that God gave you in the first place? Do you know what I'm saying? But then that's where you get into the puzzle wrapped in the chowder and the enigma and all that shit.
The puzzle and the chowder.
Yeah, the puzzle and the chowder, the puzzle piece. So it's really weird, right? So that I know is not what we're talking about, because I know neither of us really, well, at least I'm not talking about, I can't speak for you, but I don't really subscribe to that belief that like God took all these problems away from me. I don't feel like it's like that for me.
If I may, I think that you had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I would like to think so, but I didn't have everything to do with it. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
I had to, like you, I had to get out of my own way, and I have to come to believe in something greater than myself, right? That's the line. I have to come to believe, and it's like, okay, well, why do I have to come to believe in something greater than myself? Or why? I don't like the way that, because it makes me feel like I'm not in control of my own life. And all these years, it's like all I've been trying to do is just claw and nail and fight for some kind of control, constantly failing at it, constantly having it slip away, never really having it, and a lot more enlightened people than me have said that, control is an illusion. Mm-hmm. And, I begin to really believe that as these things that are in front of me. I go, yeah, I can't control any of this shit. And every time I try, something falls apart. When I go, you know what? There's nothing. I can't control this. I have a much better time with things. You know what I mean?
Yes, and it's a great way of learning acceptance, because you can't. I mean, the idea of wanting to have control of your life when you had absolutely no control of your life to begin with. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But you're giving yourself this illusion. I'm giving, not just you, but me as well, I'm giving myself this illusion that if I fight and scratch and claw at it hard enough, it'll happen, and I can force it to happen, and I can actually get it in my hands and get it malleable, when I couldn't even get my hands around it, Mm-hmm. So for me, like, the God thing was always this placeholder, the bear, the God, the coincidence. You mentioned coincidence, which is a big one to me too. The idea of that was always just because I knew I couldn't hold. Once I got sober, I knew I couldn't hold it all at once. All of it. I'm talking the weight of, like, rent and bills and wife and daughter and responsibility and sobriety and recovery and assholes and fucking roommates and coworkers, and you know what I'm saying? Like, I couldn't hold it all. I emotionally could not. It was like a raw fucking nerve walking around out there in the world. Every breeze hurt. Because I had none of my armor was all gone, because the armor was all shit anyway. And I think that was my easy way to just say, all right, I'm going to take all of this stuff that's extraneous and just put it in the bear's hands. You hold it, bear. I don't want it no more. And then if the bear doesn't solve it, then maybe I can come back and double back around to it later and take things out once I've learned how to deal with them or learned how to cope with them. But it's hard for me to sit and be like, God has removed my alcoholism. Do you know what I mean? My obsession. God has removed it. You know, I feel like that's something naturally that occurs over time. Do you know what I mean? Like just time and practicing good habits you learn with the tools through whatever program you're working, you know?
You mean the one that God has laid out for you?
Boom. You know what I'm saying?
Know.
So that's the circle.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Man.
No, I hear you. It's a big old bagel, dude. It's a big old bagel.
So I have to assume, for me, if he gave me these problems, then or did he give me these problems? Did God give me these problems,
well,
or did I create them for myself? Was it not my parents, you know, in some way, or their parents' parents, or their parents' parents, and that sort of thing? And so it's this passed on thing that we are taught a certain way, and that that I wasn't taught the right way, or I wasn't taught a more spiritual way, because that feels better. You know, it's easy to dismiss it because it sounds kind of corny, like, well, you know, I wasn't taught a spiritual way as a child, or well, then that would just be another kind of indoctrination, and I will not be indoctrinated. But when I get into that mode of thinking, then I'm always on the defense. Like you said, my armor is never enough. It's always like I'm a level 1 player going into the wrong part of the map, you know? And you're like,
your shit's all made out of wood. You're way up in the fucking swamps. You shouldn't be in the swamps, man.
No, you not with like all that wood on, dude.
Yeah.
You know? So, and God, what I like, and I don't know if you've read this book yet, but I mentioned this a few weeks back, but the Pete Holmes book, God,
I haven't read it yet. Yeah,
comedy.
you bring it. You like it.
Well, the thing I like is what he says about God, because he was a devout Christian as a young man. And then he became, you know, he was going to become a preacher, pastor, and he went into comedy instead, and he kind of threw away all that like Christianity stuff. But I think in some weird way, he's become the preacher, the pastor that he always felt that he was going to be. He's just a comedian who swears and talks about Ram Dass a lot. But he says that God is a metaphor, and is a metaphor for what? Well, that's why we have to use this word, is because we don't know. We can't define it. We can't describe it. We don't have, I should say I don't have the words. I don't have the human words to describe when something feels so good or so right, or when I hit those moments of like, I think that I'm on the right path, and then I think, oh, I should stop and control more of this and get more of this, and then that's when I fall off the path, because I started to use my own thinking as soon as I got excited about feeling good about being on the right path. So it's a metaphor, so it can mean whatever you want. I mean, you know, like that God thing. And I say Lord, I say higher power. I like higher power. I think divine creator is good. Well, because it could just be...
It's a good one, yeah. But
the divine creator doesn't necessarily have to be like anthropomorphize this thing. It could just be the fucking miasma of cosmos and whatever, and
bunch of crystal and whale noises and shit.
Crystals and whale noises. I mean, that's some good stuff to fall asleep to.
It actually is. You just rub the crystals on your face, play the whale noises, and Megan's like, "Get the fuck out of here."
Well, I mean,
and I'm like, "Shh, relax, baby. The whales will take you."
We could make fun of people who, you know, like use crystals and stuff, but I know that you and I both have an amulet in our front pockets that we cherish, that are pretty important to us.
Mine's on my keychain.
Keychain,
but I hear
right?
you. Yeah, no, exactly. So, it's once again a placeholder. It's
a reminder.
It's a reminder.
An amulet, whatever. So I guess it's more about, for me is kind of demystifying it and sort of breaking it down into little chunks where I go. Another one I like is like, my higher power is just a higher version of myself. So to your point about, well, if God was the one who gave me all these problems, and why is God going to take it away, and why would he give them to me in the first place when I did
Right.
it, little by little? You're just slowly building up your higher self, So what is God? What is God? You always use the bear metaphor as a you say the placeholder, as if you were in a fight with a bear. If it was you and a bear and you were both naked in the woods.
It's a power greater than me. It really is. It's a power greater than me. But then it came to represent nature, the chaotic nature of the universe. Do you know what I mean? Like just being out in the world and uncertainty, being out of control. Because at this point, like I kind of like not having control anymore. So over certain aspects of my life. So they would always tell me like, oh, why don't... Yeah, I would get offered psychedelics all the time, like mushrooms and LSD and shit. And I'd be like, no, I don't like that shit because I always feel out of control. As I was like drinking half a fifth of whiskey and blacking out, you know what I mean? And trying to fight like a fucking bouncer. Like that was control? Was that control, But it was more along the lines of I was really afraid to see things and freak the fuck out, right? But now I kind of like this concept of letting go of control. You know what I mean? And just trusting in the process. Wasn't that one of our things? Wasn't that like T of the last season or whatever? I like that now, of just trusting in the process to work, of just letting go of control. I like the concept of powerlessness. I fucking love it, and people hate it. See, that's their other version of God. With the new person coming in who's resistant to the idea of the program, will either say, I don't fuck with that God shit, or I am not powerless. You know what I mean? And I really like the powerless one a little bit more than the whole word God. When I put my hands up like this, I just mean the word God itself. But I don't want anybody to change anything. I'm just saying to me personally. But the powerlessness one I do like, because I am powerless over alcohol.
And you liked that one right away. That was no problem.
I did, because I have no problem with that, because what the fuck, I wouldn't be in this room if I wasn't powerless over fucking alcohol. I didn't show up here because this is a great time in the beginning. I have a good time now. Some of those people are funny as fuck, but like I am. And it's not just like, oh, I can't walk by booze without drinking it. No, I can't not drink just one drink. I can't have one drink. And that's when I become powerless over alcohol, because alcohol has now been introduced to me. So now I have lost all my power over being able to control myself with it. But alcohol's out there in the world. You work with it. Well, maybe not anymore, but I walk by it every day. I see it every fucking day. And speaking of which, talking about the God thing, there's a bar right by my house, and I have to pass it to get to the Safeway. And I pass it sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, because Megan's like, hey, will you go get bananas? And I'm like, fuck, I forgot fucking bananas. And so I'll walk by it multiple times. I'll look through the window, when I walk by, because they're playing pool in there, and they have like a shuffleboard. And I got cut off at that bar, actually, that I walked by. It was the first bar I got cut off at. And yeah, on Sunday yesterday, I walked by to go get oatmeal or something, and they had the sign out for Sunday, and it was all like this play on church and spirituality, and it said, come worship at the altar of alcohol. And I fucking loved it. I thought it was funny, because when I was drinking, I would be like, oh yeah, we're gonna go. How many fucking hacky ass poems did I write about the bar being like a fucking church? Like must have wrote hundreds of hacky ass poems about fucking whiskey being communion water and wine or whatever.
Holy water,
right?
Wine. Yeah.
But the idea of it now is like, it's like kind of sad as fuck, dude. Like, it makes me sad to like come worship at this altar of alcohol. Like, that's it. That's all you. That's the beauty in your life. That's the thing. That is your. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard to verbalize it, but that's kind of sad, man. It made me feel sad. Like,
it is sad.
I know somebody's trying to be cheeky and funny on a Sunday, and I get it, because I'm a drunk. I'm like, way to show those squares what's up. But
as somebody who's made their living off of alcohol, I get it. You want it to be fun and cheeky and go.
Yeah.
You want it to be cheeky and fun. So you kind of you want to enjoy your job, and maybe working at this bar on a Sunday afternoon is not like the most glamorous thing in the world. So you kind of have a little bit of fun.
Probably
And
sucks, dude. Yeah, it probably sucks, to be
so
honest with you.
I get it, and so I wouldn't disparage them, but at the same
No,
time,
disparage is the wrong word.
what I know now about myself, for myself, is like that is depressing. And
Yes.
I was out, like I said, this afternoon, and I was doing my thing, and I just sold 50 greeting cards, Christmas cards, to this place, and I was super stoked. I was like, yeah, man, like, that's awesome. So I did that, and I'm walking down the street, and I'm like, I just saw Tom Waits, and he's across the street. I'm going to go walk over there and say hi to him, and as I cruise by, there's one of those dark bars with the neon lights, and it goes from sunshine and beautiful to like you can see it and kind of get that weird, that stale beer smell in the carpet and the hardwood or whatever. And I'm like, man, if I hadn't quit drinking, I would have been in there already. I would have missed out on all these other things. You know what I mean? Like, and I see that a lot. I don't go to San Francisco too much, but that's another place where you go and you just be walking, and all this life and all these things are going on, and there's no shortage of like dark, dingy, weird little bars, And I can't imagine ever going back to that, Like I can't imagine wanting to. So I'll say that I can't imagine wanting to.
Yeah.
I feel like, relapse and stuff. I don't have any experience with that. I hope to never have any experience. But I think it would take a strong, a strong cocktail of bad things happening, and also me not working any kind of program. Certainly no kind of spiritual program, no kind of just daily maintenance. If I just kind of just stopped doing this shit, if I stopped thinking about it, if I stopped, all of it, then all this bad shit happened, that's when those thoughts would creep into my head and be like, yeah, it's fine. It's okay. Like,
It's all right.
It's okay, dude. Shit is hard right now.
Right.
And now, I mean, things are not unmanageable. Things are fucking difficult. They're difficult. Yeah. Like, life is hard. And I say that with a lot of gratitude for the shit that I have today,
Yeah, of course.
I say that knowing that I have clean running water, and I have a place to sleep at night, and I have food, and I have money, and I have, I have employment, and so it's still hard. My brain still wants to kind of like fuck with me a little bit, and wants to call me names, and wants to play little tricks, and wants me to do all the dumb shit that I don't want to do. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I just wake up, and we always say one day at a time, but it's the easiest way that I know how to live. It's like just and
you're seeing the benefits of it. We're both seeing the benefits of it, right?
So if I see something's good, and I'm like, oh, I should do that again now that I because when I was drinking, the only thing that I saw any results from was drinking more, and I ignored the pain, and I ignored the wreckage and the carnage and the destruction. I never really I didn't think about anybody else. And I know last week I talked a lot about anxiety with my family, and I went on that trip, and
how was that?
It was great.
Well?
It was really great. And I got to hang out with my brother. I'd love to hang out with him more. I got to go swimming with my nephew, and we took the GoPro underwater, and he was doing all kinds of flips and shit, and he's like 9 years old. And one thing too is I got to sit and talk with my mom, and I recorded it for the podcast, so I'm going to get that. So we sat down for about an hour, and I asked her to go through, and we talked about how her, as a non-alcoholic, had been affected by being around alcoholics almost her entire life. And
yeah, wow, that's an interesting. That's very interesting. Yeah.
So And the thing that occurred to me as I was talking to her is that you and I sit here and we talk about our own experiences, which I think is important,
right?
And we talk about all the things that we have gone through and the struggles that we have put ourselves through, and it's really easy to forget, like, there are other people involved, and now I can think about the things that I'm doing in a positive light. Like, I didn't realize like how much shit my mom went through, and she wasn't an alcoholic. She's not an alcoholic, right? And so she had to deal with, stepdads and moms and my father and, me. One of the things we were kind of laughing about was, I was like, I hope that my alcoholism didn't really affect you too much. And she's like, well, no, not really. I mean, you were always kind of far away, so it didn't really affect me, so.
And you did live with her for a brief period of time, but that was like, what, 3 months or something?
No,
about a year? Oh,
yeah. Less than a year. But I don't think there was enough time to do any real damage. But still,
Did a lot of sneaky drinking, but nothing.
Lots of sneaky drinking.
Yeah.
So, and that'll be out when I put it together. But it was just it was very eye-opening to think about how my life can affect other people, and now how my life can affect other people, hopefully positively, if not, just benignly. But I don't know. I think that the word, whatever word you pick, it doesn't matter. Pick a word.
Right.
We just need to move on. We need to further the conversation.
I guess you don't even really need to pick a word for it. You could just make a noise or a whistle sound or something.
You could whistle?
What I mean?
Yeah, you could.
Yeah, that's it right there. That's how we used to fucking refer to beer where I grew up. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, Mexican-American culture. Yeah, definitely. Beer is like,
Oh, like get a little.
You can't hear that tooth whistling, but yeah. Yeah, you got any, you got any of that, They'd be like, órale. I got like 2 Cheves right here, fool.
That's
you
great.
drink the Cheves, and then you do whatever. But regardless of that, it could just be and my difficulties with it aren't so much that I would leave whatever program I'm working, that I would leave whatever routine is working for me right now. I would hope to not have to go back to drinking again. I would hope to not want to go back to drinking. What I'm doing right now is making me not want to go back to drinking again. So.
But more than that, right? I mean, it's not just.
I'm doing more than just surviving. I am thriving in my life. Yes, my life is going really well. But when I break down the idea of God and the base, my whole base of this when I started was to not drink, and now every day I learn more and more is to make my life better. And so now my life's here, but I still look at my basement base, and it's always like, don't drink, and then everything else is the rest of the shit. Like. Pay bills. Don't be mean to your kid when you first wake up. Don't get mad at your wife. Don't fucking run away every time there's a problem. Because I'm gone in my mind. I've already ran halfway to fucking Mexico, every single time. All this shit.
Yeah.
But but I don't know, man. Just giving it a name it's not bad to give it a name, but.
I just don't think that it. I just think that the word. That I, in the context that I use it with you or anybody else, it is only so that we can further the conversation. Because if we get stuck on the syntax, is that the right word?
Right. It is the syntax, or the vernacular or whatever.
The syntax, whatever it is.
If I'm just whistling to you every time I want to express it, I'm just like, me and whistle noise.
It's just so that we can talk further about this, because I feel like there are lots of higher powers going on. Like, it's possible that my God it's more of a polytheistic spiritual experience.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and so I wanted to, there's a few different G.O.D, what it stands for, right? So I wrote down a few.
I didn't know if you were going to read a poem right now or something.
No.
Which is fine, too.
I mean, we could incorporate some poetry
there's
at
this,
the end of
no,
this.
I mean, there's
I
this
know
guy.
You can read
there's
poems.
A guy who leads one of the meetings I go to, and he's cool, man. And he finishes the meeting with like just a short poem, just like I think he's like has something to do with writing or something, or English. He might be a teacher or something. But I like it. But sometimes when like the new dude comes in who's like shaky and shivering out of the rain, he's like, I wrote a poem. And then he'll like won't share. He'll just read a poem he wrote. I don't like those as much. I mean, I don't dislike them, and I'm not like, yo, your poem's whack, dude. You'd never be a slam champion. But I'm just like...
It just seems a little disingenuous.
No, not disingenuous is the wrong word. It seems a little too personal. I can hear a guy talk about fucking awful shit, but for some reason when you show me your art, it makes me hella uncomfortable. It's like seeing your penis or something. I don't know why. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
Anyhow, that's my hang up, dude. I need to meditate on that shit.
Yeah, I mean, we all got our hang-ups here. I was thinking, because I remember for a long time in the rooms, I was like, one of these days somebody's going to ask me to share, man, and I need to have it, like, written down. And I had this whole idea where I was going to read a poem about, like, when I was drinking and smoking cigarettes and all this stuff. And then I had this poem that I had written, like, I woke up one morning and I wrote this poem about the fucking birds in the front yard, and it was a beautiful day. And I was like, I'll start it with this one, and then I'll write, I'll have what I'm going to say, and then I'll end it with this one. Like, I had this whole thing planned out, right? And it wasn't, you know how it goes. Someone's like, hey, dude didn't show up. Can you, I know you just woke up and it's 5 minutes till, but we need
glad to be here. Glad to be sober. I love that shit.
And I'm like, I'm not allowed to say no, or it's suggested that you don't say no. So I didn't say, and I did it anyway, but I did not read any poems.
Well, if we ever go to a meeting together, you better bust out those poems so I can get mad uncomfortable. I'd love it. It'd be worth it. So
here's some suggestions that and you can throw out any that you could think of, but the most standard one I think is good orderly direction.
Right.
And that's what I like about, like, that's the one that's always like, well, what's the next right thing to do? What's the next best decision that I can make? Group of drunks is a good one. People like that one a lot.
Yeah.
Get out, devil.
See, I was thinking, get out, dude.
Get out, dude.
I like devil better though, but dude's kind of funny. It's like your brother's in your room and
get
he's
out,
like,
dude,
going through your shit. Yeah.
Gift of desperation.
Well, yeah.
So, and I think for anybody who may not understand that one, I think that for me they talk about the gift of desperation because
I love that shit too, actually.
It's not until I was so desperate and hurting for help that I was willing to go get it, right? So I was living in this sort of very below mediocre, miserable, swampy, gross life, and it wasn't until things finally broke, so that's why the desperation was a gift.
Because you get good shit out of it after a while. Yeah.
This one, gifts offered daily. So I think that's kind of cool. That's very sweet, right?
Put that on a doily.
Give others dignity.
Yeah.
So I think I like that one because, again, I can be very self-centered. Group, and this is one that I kind of switched around with something else that I saw, but group-oriented development. Because, I feel like a lot of people get... they get a lot of support from their community. They get a good feeling when they get around other people who are trying to stay sober, who are getting sober, who have relapsed and come back. And so that whole idea is I like the group-oriented development. And then the last one that I wrote down was garlic oil drizzle.
Yeah, that's a good one too, right? Garlic oil.
And then I was just trying to think of some other ones like grapes of Drath, but that's
thought grapes, oranges, and durian.
And durian fruit?
Yeah. Or gnarly old dick. It's all gonna come back to dicks for me, dude.
So I mean, it's just it's just really whatever works, right? I mean,
right. I mean, I think we're both. As far as this conversation is concerned, I think both you and I are in agreement pretty closely.
Yes.
I think, of course, we're two different people, so we're gonna have our two different takes on what works for us and what appeals to us and what's comfortable, what our comfy fit is, what our relaxed fit is. You like yours a little loose in the seat, and I like mine a little loose in the crotch or whatever. But like, I think we're in the same boat. I think I'll always have resistance to things, and I have to slowly try them out until I realize they work. And right now, 5 years into this fucking process, it's like starting to sink in that if I let go, good things tend to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and if I'm grateful for those good things happening, and I give that gratitude out to everything around me, not just people, but just the silent room, if I just sit in the backyard and just sing it to a tree, if I just let the fucking sky know that I'm grateful, I'm putting that positive shit back out into the world. It sounds so crazy saying it out loud. I feel like such a kook bag, but it's true. Like, I'll sit outside sometimes and just be like, thank you. Thanks. This works. Is that Coco back there honking the horn?
Yeah. I just I'm just picturing, I can't imagine Jerry Wagner 5 years ago talking about singing his gratitude to a tree in the backyard. So it's
I'd be singing different shit to a tree in the backyard.
The piano has been drinking.
Right. Like, hey, you didn't mean no Tom Waits. I'll show you Tom Waits, buddy.
It's so true because it doesn't require, for me to have to give it for somebody else to be audience to it.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes being alone and just having, like, pushing that gratitude out there, imagining that an aura, a light, a power, a whatever feeling, like, out there. And then I go, oh man, did I just imagine that my gratitude went around the world and back? Like, how amazing is that? I'm going to go to work now,
right.
Or whatever it is. Like, I feel so much better.
Right.
And I wanted to share with you, like, this other story, and I'm going to send you the podcast. It's a Rich Roll podcast, and this guy, and I don't know if this relates exactly, this talks about death more than it does about God, but there's this, one of the things is, like, we talk God about maybe being at a higher power, a higher level, even a higher dimension, and this guy works a lot with people who are dying and people who are in the last stages of their life. And his name is, like, Dr. Zach Bush. So it's the Rich Roll podcast with Dr. Zach Bush, the most recent one. And he was talking about how these naturalists were out in the forest and the eagles were swimming around or flying around the lake, and they were looking for fish, right? They were hunting. And they would circle and circle, and they would watch, and it was almost as if, not like the eagles would have to go all the way down and grab the fish out of the water, but the fish would actually jump in the air a little bit so that the eagles could grab it, like the fish was saying, "It's time for me to go." And so the thing that, and this is the cool part that kind of tripped me out, was the doctor was saying, at that moment, can you imagine being that fish at the last stage of your life, and you're so high up in the sky and you get to see the mountain range, like, as a fish? What is that? What is
right,
that view?
yeah.
What is that moment like? Like, what is that? And to me, part of it was this, I just had this thought of, like, that's what God is, being a fish and getting to see the mountain range. And I don't know if my analogy is perfect, but it was a super cool talk with this guy, and he tells the story a lot better. And he has a lot more, sources that he could cite about this.
Right.
But I was like, I was imagining being a fish and taking my last breaths and being able to see how does a fish even process what a mountain range looks like? I don't know.
Right.
So I guess my point is just, it doesn't matter what you call it. Call it what you want to call it. I'm a fucking alcoholic, to quote Exhibit from.
Is that Exhibit? Is he one of us?
No, I think this is in Exhibit. He might be now, but this was during his active alcoholism. Call it what you want to call it.
I meant, is he just an alcoholic in general? Whenever I say one of us, I guess we think of one of us in two different ways.
As recovered. And
there's always recovered, and whenever I'm like, oh, he's one of us, like, he's got the bug.
Yes, he does.
He's still dancing. He's still dancing with the bug right now.
Well, he sang about it in, like, 2001 or something. I don't know where he's at now.
He's just probably a party dude.
Yeah, but and then lastly, again, when we talk about it, doesn't matter what it is. Maybe not lastly. I mean, you can say whatever you want. But we can go on for the next 6 hours if you want. We could do like
Right.
a Dan Carlin hardcore history version.
Jeez. Yeah, just two fucking dudes in their mid-40s talking about God.
There was this meme that was like something like AA member. No, we're not in a cult. And then there's like other AA member. Yeah, sometimes my higher power is a doorknob or something like that.
Right.
And it was something stupid. And I think the point of it is that pick something that works for you. And if the doorknob
Right.
is your higher power, man, then fucking give it all to the doorknob. You know?
Right. I'd like the joke about AA not being a cult because in a cult people do what you tell them to do. I love that shit.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. But I don't know, man. I'm just, yeah. I don't know if there's. I'm sure there's plenty more to say on the topic of God. And
Yeah.
I'm sure that.
Well, and we would love to hear from any listener who has anything. You get them emails sometimes. So you just keep them from us. You just keep them. You just
I
hoard up
swear.
all that goodness.
I don't have.
Yeah.
I didn't get any emails this week.
But if you have any, we'd like to hear your version of whatever works for you. And if it's not a higher power, it's not a concept of God. If there's a routine you go through, if you're just living life and you're fucking great without drinking anymore, let us know. I'm fucking mad curious about how you people do this shit because I think I'm doing it right, but most of the time I'm probably doing it all fucked up. So I'd love to hear your concept of it as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Please write us in. Let us know, and I'd be happy to read your email on the air, as it
Right.
were.
And then you'll be internet famous to all 50 of our listeners.
No, we had a couple in.
No, we got a couple hundred
around the
or two.
world. Yeah, we got a couple
Yeah.
hundred. There's
Yeah.
a couple of.
That's my self-deprecating humor. This is how I roll, dude. I'm trying to seduce you, man.
You're doing a good job. Thanks again for listening. Our music, as always, is by Neglect. You can find more of his stuff at neglect.bandcamp.com.
And you can find us on all social media platforms that matter: Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And you can reach us at aisforalcoholic@gmail.com.
Talk to you later.
Yeah.